CNN has been absolutely melting down ever since the debate. What the American people saw was that our government has been, at least, even the most reasonable person, I think, would say they've absolutely been protecting Joe Biden from the public. That debate performance was not like him having a bad day. What the American people saw with Joe Biden's debate is that is Joe Biden every day. He probably has 3, 4, 5 hours or whatever of good Joe Biden time when he talks about his leg hair and this, that, and the other thing. But he also has long stretches of where he's just simply too tired. His brain is just too tired. When people look at that debate and say, wow, that was pretty bad, they forget the fact that he sat at Camp David for a full week preparing. A full week of preparation went into that. So just, like for people think, oh, it was just a bad night or whatever. Bro, he prepared for an entire week. Everybody at the White House has been covering for this man. Everybody in the media knew that Joe Biden's just not as sharp as he used to be. And I'm being very kind. Right? I'm sure the comments will be less kind. What I saw that night was a husk of a man. But I've been seeing that for years. Since 2022 minimum, which is the date in which he should have stepped aside in the race. Now, the establishment, mainstream media, they're one and the same, have decided it's time to start moving on past Grandpa Joe Biden. And he, ultimately, as the investigator said, a well-meaning old man. Trump has documents. He's an evil supervillain. Biden has documents. He's a well-meaning old man, right? CNN and every other mainstream media outlet has now been scrambling to pretend like they weren't covering for him. Scrambling to pretend like they weren't lying to the American people that he was some sort of, that he was all there cognitively. Now, I'm not a doctor. I can't say definitively from a medical standpoint, right? But what I can say is that I believe my eyes. The media doesn't want you to believe your lying eyes. Don't believe what you saw. But in this segment now, the meltdown is real. They're eating each other alive in the press. At least the mainstream press, like Joy Reid has been on essentially a nonstop meltdown since the debate. It seems like she has less and less hair every video she uploads. By the way, just shave it, Joy. Just shave it. Whatever. You have less hair than Donald Trump. But she keeps saying, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden even if he's not on this planet anymore. Like, the cope is real. The cope is hilarious. And the machine has been revealed.
Are we sure Scott wasn't talking about the criminal felon that had the secret documents that he was holding in his bathroom in Mar-a-Lago? Because there was a felon that we haven't talked about tonight where that's the case.
Are you comfortable, Jamal? Are you comfortable with Hunter Biden running White House senior staff meetings? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is good?
Why are you yelling at me? Listen.
Come on.
Listen.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you. We're talking about Joe Biden. We're talking about Joe Biden tonight, who is admitting to his own donors, people in your party, that he can't both perform and campaign. And you want to talk about the Mar-a-Lago documents case, which is not going to come to trial before November. This is the sitting president. You work for him. I want to know, if you were in a senior staff meeting, would you want Hunter Biden?
Biden literally said that he fell asleep or almost fell asleep. And then people said, well, it was because he was doing all this international travel. What? He had spent a week at Camp David preparing for this debate. A CNN segment discussing Joe Biden's ailing missteps descended into a shouting match, not really, between two guests. Scott Jennings, who serves as special assistant to President George W. Bush, appeared on Out Front Tuesday to discuss the competency of Biden. He clashed with fellow guest Jamal Simmons, the former communications director for Vice President Kamala Harris. Jennings was discussing the concerning report about President Biden's cognitive abilities and another about how his son Hunter has attended some White House meetings. I mean, is that, I mean, if you would have told me that 6 months ago, that Hunter Biden, who is best known for losing all of his teeth to a crippling crack addiction, was attending meetings at the White House, I mean, I would have never believed that to be the truth. But yes, it in fact is. CNN commentator Jennings was talking about how Biden blamed his poor debate performance on his travel schedule. That's an amazing day, he said. Number one, the New York Times was reporting that he's lapsing in meetings, that it's becoming more frequent. Number two, we found out today that a felon and crack addict is now sitting in the White House senior staff meetings. Number three, the president is now tonight on his own donors blaming a foreign trip that ended 12 days before the debate for his disastrous performance on Thursday. Jennings claimed that the Biden administration is off the rails, but Simmons pointed to Donald Trump's criminal convictions that no one cares about. Are we sure Scott wasn't talking about President Trump? By the way, the classified documents thing, that's going to go away. There's nothing to even discuss about it anymore. The Supreme Court basically handled that. There's just going to be nothing else to say about it. All of the cases, yeah, he's going to lose money in New York. He's not going to get those probably overturned. Maybe he will, but probably not. Right? So let's say he doesn't. He loses a little bit of money. The guy's super rich. Jennings began to raise his voice, said, "Are you comfortable, Jamal?" We saw that in Meltdown. Simmons responded, claiming that MAGA Republicans like Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene are attempting to take freedoms away from women and other groups. That's not what they want, he said, and that's the reason I think that Trump is still going to be in trouble when you get down to Election Day. The heated interaction came after Biden blamed his globetrotting ahead of Thursday's disastrous debate performance. The 81-year-old president made the concession during a fundraiser in the ritzy D.C. suburb of McLean, Virginia, Tuesday night. He told the crowd that he wasn't very smart for traveling around the world a couple of times before his showdown with presumptive Republican nominee former President Trump. "I decided to travel around the world a couple of times shortly before the debate. 2 weeks. I didn't listen to my staff, and then I almost fell asleep on stage." He added, "It's not an excuse, but it's an explanation." I don't know that it even is. I don't even know. I don't buy that as an explanation. I mean, the guy didn't just fall asleep. He was asleep. He was completely out of it. So I just don't really understand how he can stand there and say, "Oh, yeah, golly, gee willikers, leg hairs, corn pop, I was just tired. Folks, listen, democracy's on the ballot. What was I saying again? I don't remember. I'll take 2 scoops." I mean, what? He was home for 2 weeks. He spent a full week preparing for that debate, unbothered. And you see the articles. These are on CNN. Biden's post-debate crisis is now evolving into a genuine threat to his re-election bid. This came out yesterday. President Joe Biden needs to do far more to quell Democratic panic over his terrible performance at the debate showdown with former President Trump, and fast. After Texas Representative Lloyd Doggett on Tuesday became the first Democratic lawmaker to break ranks and demand Biden step aside, top party figures are now asking for more openness and details on the president's health and mental state as the anxiety about his re-election campaign evolves into an increasingly genuine threat to his grip on the Democratic nomination. The fallout from the debate has created another extraordinary twist in a stunning campaign featuring two presidents, one who's a convicted felon and the other who's already the oldest to hold the job. The debate crystallized many fears of Democrats about Biden's prospects and played into months of claims by Trump that his rival is weak and mentally diminished. I mean, those are two words that I think explained his performance on the debate stage perfectly fine. You know, Democratic Senator Peter Welch from Vermont said Tuesday, the big question going into that debate was the age question. The outcome of that debate was the question on age was intensified. We've got to deal with that. That's the real issue and have a frank conversation about it. Well, you elected him in 2020. You knew how old he was going to be. You knew how old he was going to be when re-election, when the re-election stuff started. Everyone knew how old he was going to be, right? You nominated him anyway. The time to talk about stepping aside was in 2022, when you could have brought up a successor. You could have got the American people used to the idea that Biden was going to be a one-term president. He could have come out and said, I did my job. I defeated the orange man. No more bad tweets. So I'm going to step aside and give it to whatever. Didn't do it. Joe Biden's not going to step down willingly. And right now, the media is desperate, trying to convince you that they haven't been covering up for this guy for the last 4 years. CNN doesn't get to now report about, oh man, Joe Biden bad. Like, bro, you've been covering Joe Biden for the last 4 years, right? At no point did you say, Joe Biden kind of old. Joe Biden's kind of old. These people are all eating themselves alive, and it's going to be beautiful to watch, and I can't wait.